At one point, your phone was just a phone, but now you have a camera, a calculator, fitness monitor, GPS,
Right.
all of it because of apps, right? And with the software. So the motion terminal has a similar concept.
Welcome to Fluid Power Forum, a podcast of the National Fluid Power Association. I'm your host, Eric Lenke, and it's my job to interview interesting people who are moving fluid power technology forward. If you'd like to be part of our show, please follow us on Twitter. You can find us there at the NFPA. And make sure to share those interesting and innovative uses of fluid power with our hashtag #OnlyFluidPowerCan. That is actually one of the ways that we source topics for our show. If you see an interesting application of fluid power and you want to learn more about it, you can share it on social media with that hashtag #OnlyFluidPowerCan. And you just might hear it discussed on a future episode of Fluid Power Forum. Also, please subscribe to our show. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Spotify. We're on a lot of the other podcatching services. Wherever you find us, please subscribe and give us a quick rating. Those ratings really do help more and more of our friends in the industry hear about the show and join in on these important conversations. On today's show, our guest is Daniella Gonzalez-Olgren. Daniella is the product manager of valves at Festo, and Festo is a leading supplier of pneumatic and electrical automation technology. Today, we invited Daniella on to our show to learn more about Festo's digital pneumatics technology and its impact on the food packaging process. So Daniella, welcome to Fluid Power Forum.
Thanks, Eric. Happy to be here.
I'm glad to have you. We were chatting before we turned on the recording that we've had one of your colleagues from Festo on a previous episode. Festo is a major player in the pneumatic space, and we're happy to have your take. There's so many different products we can talk about, I know, so we're happy to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks. There's over 30,000 products, so you could talk to a lot of us for now.
We're gonna focus on just a handful of those products on today's show. But before we do that, tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself. What led you to your current position at Festo?
Well, going way back, I've always been a very curious person. Ever since I was a kid, my favorite subjects were always math and science, and I really like to find out how things work. Taking things apart. And really, my dad has been a big influence on this. He was kind of an inventor himself. So he was always improving machines. So I just kind of stuck to him to see what I could learn. Eventually, I went to school for engineering and graduated with a degree in mechanical engineering from the University of the District of Columbia in Washington, D.C. I ended up moving to New York, got a job at Festo, starting in inside sales, and then moving into product management. And here we are 9 years later.
Right out of college, you got the job at Festo, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I don't think I've spoken to anybody who's graduated from the University of D.C. In the past. Is that, I'm not familiar with that school. Is that a big school or?
It's a medium-sized school.
Yeah.
So it's in the middle of D.C. and it was pretty cool, different experience, a lot of different cultures in one roof.
Sure.
It was pretty cool.
Well, how about, was there a lot of fluid power training in at your college experience?
Actually, no. I did have one class.
That's probably why I haven't heard of that college before. So
yeah, I did have the one class, and it was fluid power combined with thermodynamics.
Sure.
But overall, there wasn't much fluid or pneumatics training in school for me.
So that's not unusual, as I'm sure, as you know, there's a lot of people in the fluid power industry who first learn about it when they get their first job. What drew you to a career in fluid power?
So I got a call from Festo, and I got to say I hadn't heard from them before. So when I started looking at the company, I found it was really interesting, all the things that you could do with with pneumatics and all the things that you could accomplish with this technology.
Right.
So I found it really interesting. And then the people, I got to say, almost everyone I've come across and cross paths with has taught me something valuable about this technology. So I like it.
That's great. Yeah, and Festo's a great place to experiment. I'm sure some of our listeners are familiar with their animatronic animals that they put together for their trade shows every year.
Yep.
I've seen birds, I've seen whales, I've seen grasshoppers, all kinds of things, all of them powered by pneumatics, because that's really a central focus for Festo. But Tell us a little bit more about Festo as a company. I was surprised you said you had never heard of it before as a college student looking for a job.
Yeah.
So maybe there's more people out there who aren't familiar with Festo. Tell us more about them as a
Yeah,
company.
totally. So Festo is a family-owned business, and it's a leading supplier of automation technology and technical education. It's based in Germany, with a presence in 61 countries through individual subsidiaries.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a big focus on quality and innovation. As you said, we have the whole set of bionic animals, but we also provide pneumatic and electric automation technology as well as technical education to elevate the competitiveness of our customers. We make both pneumatic and electric products,
Mm-hmm.
such as pneumatic drives, valves, sensors, grippers, electric drives, and really much more. We've been really at the forefront of the trends in automation. So if we go back to the 1980s, Festo was the first company to merge electronics with pneumatics by packaging the remote I/O on the first valve terminal that was introduced to the market.
Mm-hmm.
So nowadays, it's very common to have a
Right.
valve manifold that's directly connected to a bus network, but it wasn't the case before.
Right.
So from energy saving products to digital pneumatics, we've been a leader in helping advance the use of pneumatics in ways that really benefit our customers at Festo.
Yeah, unfortunately, pneumatics has kind of a bang bang reputation out there. That it's either on or it's off, right? So, but
Yeah.
that's really not the case. Not just Festo, but most pneumatics manufacturers, they can really get quite fine tolerances or details, if you will, out of the motion of the cylinder through those connections to the bus network and things like that. So.
Yeah.
It sounds like Festo's been on that cutting edge for a long time. Are there particular markets that Festo sells primarily into, or is it just any kind of automation is the major focus?
So yeah, most markets we serve, we have a big focus, of course, in automotive, food and packaging, electronics, but nowadays we even have lab automation, water treatment, a lot of these markets that before were not necessarily served by these type of technology are now being being served by us.
Yeah.
Some applications that didn't seem practical or didn't exist, they're opening up for Festo and for pneumatics.
Well, like you said, when you were first introduced to it, you were surprised pleasantly by how ubiquitous the technology is, right?
Yeah.
It's everywhere. You just need to know how to find it, right? It's not obvious. It's
Yes.
usually under a countertop somewhere. So,
Yeah.
well, great. So I know we're going to talk about a particular application, digital pneumatics for a food packaging application. Is that right?
Yeah.
So tell
Yeah.
us a little bit more
Um,
about the application. Let's start with the application first. So give us a sense of what we're talking about in terms of what's the task that needs to be done.
Yeah, so the application in this case that we're discussing today is for packaging powders in different size sachets, right? So there are many different stages within a packaging system, and for this filling system, we have different elements that require to be packaged in different containers. It could be bottles or bags, but we're gonna talk about the specifically like a flat sachet, a flat bag type
Mhm.
packaging.
Yeah, I think most people give people an impression like, what are we talking about? Like, what products would they see on their grocery shelves that would be in these sachets?
So things like salt, pepper, single serve coffee, spices, anything that's packaged for single serve or to go industry. If you
Right.
think about airplane food, fast meals where you get the little pouches of salt and pepper to add to your meals, these type of packagings is what we're talking about.
And what is the engineering challenge associated with that? Is it precision? Is it speed? Like, what needs to be done effectively in order to do that?
So precision is actually one of the very important things about the filling of these sachets because waste is very important.
Hmm.
We're trying to provide the right amount of the product to the customer, but also we're trying to prevent the manufacturer to waste when they're packaging, as well as the customer using this. Say a cup of coffee, right? So if you buy a single serve instant coffee, you expect to make a cup and you don't want to have some watered down product. You
Right.
want to make sure that you have the right amount for the flavorful cup and not having to use two pouches or or one and a half. So precision is very important in this case.
It's a bad day that I have to start off with a weak cup of coffee. So yeah, it's having a strong cup of coffee is very important. So the getting the right amount of material in the sachet is really critical. It sounds like.
Yes.
And so historically, if that makes sense, like what kind of technology is this always been a pneumatic application, or and you're adding digitization to it now, or are there other technologies that are in use to make that function happen?
Yeah, so traditionally it is mostly a pneumatic application.
Hmm.
This is because of, you need to use some vacuum for this packaging, so you do need that pneumatic element. But for this type of application, typically you would need a little bit more components, and what we've done with the digitalization and the Festo Motion terminal, which is the product that we're using here,
Right.
is that we have made it more flexible for this application to have different types of sizes of pouches.
Well, let's talk more about the actual solution that you have at Festo there in a moment. This is the point where we have to take a short break because we want to let our guests know about some other fluid power industry opportunities that they may be interested in. Okay, we're back from our break. I'm speaking with Daniella Gonzalez-Olgren of Festo, and we were just about to get some more details on the digital pneumatic solution for the filling of sachets on a food packaging line. So why don't we reorient ourselves, Daniella, and start from scratch? Like, what is the basic pneumatic system that you would find in this application?
So for this application, you'll find a lot of proportional pressure regulation
Mm.
in a traditional system. And on the solution that we have improved with digitalization is that by using one of our newest products, which is called the Festo Motion Terminal, or VTEM, this product can provide the customer with a lot of flexibility for the machine. And it really reduces their complexity in terms of components, right? So like I mentioned before the break, some of these machines can get really big and have a lot of components because of all of the different channels that you would have to regulate. So with this product, we are able to provide a much more compact solution that fits right into the concepts of Industry 4.0 and the Internet of Things, or IoT.
So let me just recalibrate there. So what I think I heard you say was prior to this solution, you'd have to have different channels. It sounds like depending on how much product
Yeah.
needed to be dispensed into the sachet.
Yeah,
So
correct.
if you had an 8-ounce version and a 12-ounce version and a 16-ounce version, you would need three different systems, each one calibrated for one of those three things. Did I follow that
Yeah,
right?
that's exactly how it is. Yeah.
And what you're saying now is that with the digitization, you can have one system where the smartness of the system knows that, okay, this time I only need 8 ounces, the next time I need 12 ounces, the third time I need 16 ounces, and it can calibrate itself, right?
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Well, you know me, I always try to do like kind of the layperson's understanding of how this works. So
So
the
yeah.
harder question is, how does it do that? Like what's the magic, if you can share that when you say you're digitizing the pneumatics, that's really what you're talking about. You're talking about multiple power settings, multiple dispensing, in the same unit, right?
Yeah, that's right. So this technology is groundbreaking for the industry. The Festo Motion Terminal VTEM is really the first product of its kind, where the hardware is the same, but it has the flexibility to change into multiple components with the software. So
Mm.
it allows us to replace up to 50 different components in one
Wow.
solution, depending on the application. So think of think of the Festo Motion terminal to be the smartphone of valve terminals. So, at one point your phone was just a phone, but now you have a camera, a calculator, fitness monitor, GPS,
Right.
all of it because of apps, right? And with the software. So the Motion terminal has a similar concept. We use the same hardware valve, and through software you reconfigure the valve to operate as whether you want to be a simple directional control valve or a flow control, or in this application is a proportional pressure
Oh
regulator.
my gosh. Okay.
And and you can change the values, right? You can say, okay, now regulate this much or now reduce it, and the changes are live. So it's really neat.
So help me understand that. So it's the same valve that has
Yes.
different configurations that are controlled electronically, or it's three different valves that get swapped in and out, like a tooling set or something like that.
No, it's the same valve. So
Hmm.
this technology is kind of like a hybrid between traditional pneumatic technology and electric technology. So we are taking a solution and it's the same valve, but inside the valve, the functions are changed via software. So we have some sensors and we have multiple valves that are placed inside the valve that are all the same. And with the software, you change the configuration of opening and closing for these valves inside, and then it changes the function completely for what the output of the hardware is.
Wow. So that really lends, I mean, that gives a whole lot of flexibility to the machine
Yes.
operator or to the company. Uh, I bet there's like a lot of automated industrial settings. It's the changeover time that always slows everything down. You have to retrofit the machine for the new task. And it sounds like this cuts that down almost to a minimum.
Yes, the go live changes was really one of the things that's the most attractive, to customers about this technology. When we have for this particular application, another thing that they were able to do is that you can package different substances within the one machine. So having
Hmm.
that flexibility that before you couldn't have because you had to go in and adjust all of the proportional pressure regulator settings and then, shut off the machine, do the adjustment and turn it back on. And here's like, hey, do a line of salt, do a line of sugar, do a line of pepper, and all of it combined. You just got to plug in the different parameters in the computer
Wow.
and you're good to go.
That's even more flexibility than it's like one of those new soda dispensing machines that you see, right?
Yes,
Where
where you get all the different flavors that you didn't think it was possible.
I don't want to date myself, but I remember the bank of dispensers that you'd have to go to. You'd have to like put your cup under the right one to get the root beer or get the Mountain Dew or whatever it is that you're going for. And now you just push
Yeah,
some buttons and it all comes out of the same spigot. It sounds like the same thing.
yeah, yeah.
Is this something that is only for new machines, or is this something that can be retrofitted onto existing machines?
So, because of the amount of components that get eliminated from the application, this technology is best suited on new machines, so on new designs, not new machines,
Yeah.
but it definitely can be retrofitted onto existing machines. You just have to maybe do some resizing and additional work, but it can be retrofitted.
Are there particular parameters in terms of the size of the operation or the amount of material that this is ideally suited for?
So this technology can fit any size of the operation, but typically it's best suited for small to medium machines. But depending on the application, we can support large machines with multiple valves. So we can work with a tabletop application up to a complete system.
Wow. So again, you keep every time I ask you a question, Daniela, you come back with it's more versatile than that. As is what I keep hearing you saying. It's like it's
But wait, we have more.
dare I say it's like infinitely configurable. I mean, that's what it sounds like.
It really is. So we do have 12 different, we call them motion apps. So it's just 12 different software settings that are pre-programmed, and all you have to do is select it. So this valve terminal is really easy to use. You don't have to do a lot of programming. You just need to know what the function is that you want. So it's like the push of a button, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we call them motion apps, because it's like an app that you use on your phone that changes completely the function of what your phone is. It's very similar to that on the motion terminal.
So you said this is a fairly new product that's coming out.
Yeah, this product has been in the market only for a couple of years. So this is groundbreaking technology. Festo is the only manufacturer that has something that is this flexible right now,
Mm-hmm.
and it was released a couple of years ago, and now it's been released in we in all the countries that we support, so 61 countries.
Right.
So it's been around probably since 2018 for the public. Some of our customers that got a sneak peek was particularly this application that we were discussing when we were still in the stages of developing that app. They were able to get it earlier, and they put it on this packaging machine for the sachets.
That's great. So what kind of feedback are you getting from the customers? What do they like best about this? Where are they seeing the savings, if you will? Is it cost, speed, reliability, all the above?
So all of the above, really. A lot of the time is the flexibility. So for this application, right, having flexibility, having a machine that can do more than one packaging, more than one size, more than one product, right? It's footprint that you're saving them in the floor. So it really upgrades their equipment when they can do things like this, and definitely cost savings.
And so what's your sense of the growth curve for this? It sounds like there's still plenty of market to go after if it's fairly
Oh
new on
yeah,
the marketplace.
definitely.
Yeah. Any
The
sense of its penetration at this point?
So right now, it's still pretty new. Like I said, it's still pretty new. We do have a couple other packaging applications where we have seen the success of this product. Because one of the challenges that we see especially for packaging applications, right, is having to make the changes. So if multiple products can be supported with one machine, it will save money and space. And you have to think, right? The designers of packaging machines, they need to be responsive to the customer needs. So if you go to the store right now, you see on the shelves, a mini pack, a jumbo pack, a family size, a sharing size, and all of it has the same product inside. It's just a different size packaging. So being able to fulfill these needs for the customer and make the changes without having to have any time wasted and shut down really can help them differentiate from one machine to another, right? And so there is definitely a lot of growth potential for this type of application. I mean, the food market is huge. I think in 2020, globally, the food industry was about $320 billion
Yeah.
potential for
Right.
for machines. So it definitely there's a lot of room for growth
Well,
here.
and speaking as a consumer, I mean, it seems like more and more things are being packaged in these kinds of packages, right? It seems to be
Yeah.
there must be advantages at the production level for this kind of packaging because it
Hmm.
seems to be more and more used in all kinds of different categories.
Yeah.
So, have you thought about? I mean, we have just a couple minutes left here in our time. So, do you have you? I'm curious, like where else in Festo's broad market penetration areas do you think this technology would be useful? Have you guys thought about that, or is you focused solely on this packaging application right now?
No, actually, so other markets that we see this technology, we have things like pick and place solutions, end of arm tooling, right? So if you have to do any swapping on, it's very common on end of arm tooling to have different handling systems. So you can switch from vacuum to gripping by just pushing a button, and then you swap the plates on the end of arm. So this is also key for this market. Filling control, so not just powder filling, but liquid filling, bottling, all of that stuff. All of these type of application, especially when you have combined motion, right? So if you need to have uh, proportional regulation, if you need to have some monitoring, all of this combined, they really highlight all the benefits that we have on the Festo Motion Terminal Vita. As a matter of fact, actually, we've created a special brochure highlighting multiple applications and complete systems where we're using the motion terminal.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find that on festo.com/vitam.
Well, we'll be sure to put a link to that website in the show notes for this episode. So we would encourage people to go check it out. We're always challenged on Fluid Power Forum to try and describe things in audio versions only,
Yes.
and sometimes a picture explains it way better. So, or even an animation, I'm sure those exist as well. So we'll be sure to put that link into the show notes, as I said.
Yeah.
Well, great. So, Daniella, any closing comments? What do you want to leave our listeners with?
No, just to remind everyone, the Festo Motion Terminal Vitam is just one of our many products that we have to improve our customer solutions. And Eric, thank you so much for the invite. I've had a lot of fun.
We're glad to have you on the episode. And that is going to wrap things up for this episode of Fluid Power Forum. My thanks again to Daniella Gonzalez-Olgren, who has been my guest. If you would like to connect with her, in addition to that website link that we'll include, we'll also include a link to her email in the show notes. And I know that she would welcome any contacts if you want to learn more about the products or the technologies that we've discussed. Remember, if you like our podcast, please follow us on Twitter. You can find us there at the NFPA. And please keep sharing those interesting and innovative uses of fluid power with our hashtag #OnlyFluidPowerCan. We truly want to hear from you on the kind of topics that we should be addressing on our show. Also, to see the latest fluid power technology and learn from industry experts, make your plans now to attend IFPE, the International Fluid Power Exposition. Our next show will be March of 2023 in Las Vegas, Nevada. For more information, visit ifpe.com. Fluid Power Forum is a podcast of the National Fluid Power Association. We are ably produced by Maddie Parise, NFPA's Communications Manager, and I'm your host, Eric Lanke. Be sure to join us next time in the forum.